So the other day, right, I was on the bus, just chilling. When a thought occurred to me, I wonder what sucking dick is like. Hachiman Hikigaya from the anime Oregairu, other known as Snafu, other known as My Teen Rom's Comedy, other known as one of the best fucking animes out there, is one of, if not the most interesting character in all of anime. Hikigaya is a breath of fresh air in the world with the same and redundant anime character tropes that you see over and over and over and over again.
Hindi mo makikita ang kalayaan! Para sa isang katulad mong nilokoban na ng mga spirito!
So who is this groundbreaking, world-shattering, super intriguing character by the name of Hachiman Hikigaya? Well, my boy Hachiman Hikigaya, whom I'll be calling Hikki, is a character that's introduced to us as a complete and utter loner. He's got no friends, no girlfriend, no boyfriend, and really only has his cute and loving sister by his side. He is also exceedingly and incredibly lazy, which I can definitely relate to, and has the grand dream of being an at-home husband, which I can't really relate to, while also kind of being an underhanded and cunning sack of shit. Hikki is also refreshingly blunt, never holding back his true thoughts due to a tremendous hate towards the superficial and fake. He has a keen sense of observation and holds the habit of always reading between the lines and never truly takes what anybody says at face value. Quite fittingly, Hikki is equipped with comical looking dead fish eyes that mirror his pessimistic outlook on life, and can be defined as a logic monster, someone who tries to justify everything and anything with logic, as dumb and faulty as that logic may be. But what really defines Hikki as a character is his philosophy towards life. He affirms weakness and accepts it, refusing to change and conform to quote-unquote better himself. And this disposition to hate change is one of the cornerstones of Hikki's character, and one that later comes to haunt him in the future. This philosophy can be characterized through an essay Hikki writes on his reflection of his high school life, which can be summarized by, he fucking hates youth. Pause, I know I just threw a shit ton of information at you guys. And so, to summarize, Hikki is a loner who's lazy, extremely logical, with a keen sense of observation that goes hand in hand with his hate towards the superficial. He is constantly reading between the lines, all while affirming weakness, refusing to change, and absolutely hates youth. But why? Why does Hikki hate youth? Why is Hikki a loner? Why is Hikki Hikki? Hikki rejects the notion of youth because he too at one point tried to live out youth and was miserably rejected. His failures, his rejections, his attempts to live out life under the philosophy of the so-called youth was ironically rejected and cast away. Rather, he was laughed at, ignored, and labeled as a loser, trying so hard to do what so many others did naturally. And so, Hikki gave up on this artificial and arbitrary thing labeled as youth, and by doing so, also decided to tread the path of a loner. A line from the light novel, which I highly recommend, demonstrates this line of thinking extremely well. And I quote, "I was being stubborn, that's all. It was just the stubbornness of someone who was shredded to pieces by the malicious and uncooperative intent of others. The show of resistance belonged only to me for the sake of not denying my past, my actions, and beliefs." Hikki refuses to deny his past, which was characterized and littered with nothing but failures and rejections. For it was these failures and rejections that were used as the foundation for his philosophy and ideology. The ideology that antagonizes people, believing them to always have ulterior motives, and the ideology which affirms and accepts weakness. Hence why, when Yui approaches Hikigaya and befriends him, Hikki thoroughly believes it to be nothing but artificial kindness. He reads between the lines, for the notion he was undeserving of love and friendship was a notion that he too came to believe. Which is why it all makes sense. It makes sense why Hikki is so guarded and stubborn. It makes sense that whenever his ideology is challenged, he continues to stick to it. Because for him, change is the equivalent of rejecting himself. And when the whole world rejected him for who he was, my boy, Hikki, didn't. He accepted himself for who he was and embraced it. Which is why despite everyone disliking him, and him being very aware of this fact, he continues to accept himself, love himself, and stick by his twisted and distorted philosophy. But with all honesty, Hikki, he's a good guy, and I love Hikki's character too, though he's introduced as a character that is self-centered, awkward, and hateful towards everyone. In reality, Hikki is someone with a kind heart who seeks to help others, even if it means he'll get the short end of the stick. Whether it was helping out Hayama's friend group by asking out Hina, or helping out the bullied Rumi, or being hated on by the collective cultural festival committee, all in order for them to work more productively, all of these things were things that Hikki didn't have to do. But he did. Though his tactics may be underhanded, dirty, and sometimes even downright scummy, Hikki always did things with the intention to do the right thing. Even when he insulted and berated this bitch, he did so in order to help her. The light novel, which I'm not sure I mentioned but you should definitely check out, shows an additional interaction between Hikki and Yukinon which sheds light behind the true intent as to why Hikki did what he did. And I quote, "You really do try to save everyone, don't you?" "Save what?" I asked back, not understanding what she was getting at. Normally, Sagami-san shouldn't have been forgiven for abandoning her responsibilities and running away. However, when she returned here, it was as if she was a victim from whatever crude words you had told her. She even had Hayama and her two friends as witnesses. She was a perfect victim. "You're reading into it too much. I didn't think that far ahead." "Really? But results are results, and that's what it came down to. That's why I believe it's fine to say that you saved her." "No, that was wrong. It wasn't an act worthy of that kind of commendation. It wasn't an act deserving of acknowledgement or praise, but an act that should be denounced and blamed." And so, throughout the course of the anime, he continues to hurt himself in order to save others, because he's used to the pain, and so it's okay. It's okay if everyone hates him. It's okay if he shoulders the burden. It's okay if no one understands him. It's okay if no one helps him. It's okay because he's alone. It's okay, but only if he's the only one hurting. But what happens when Hikki is no longer alone? Hikki is thrown into the service club where he meets two girls named Yukinon and Yui, and for the first time, Hikki meets people that genuinely care for him. He meets people who aren't superficial, who don't have ulterior motives, and most importantly, don't reject him for who he is. For the first time, Hikki experiences something genuine, and is loved for who he is as a person. And for the first time, he isn't hurting alone. Every time he burdens another person's sorrow, trouble, and hate, it hurts Yui and Yukinon. But even so, Hikki is reluctant to change his self-sacrificial ways. He continues to hang on stubbornly to his philosophy under the pretense that he doesn't care. Hikki is what you would call a certified tsundere, always lying to himself, always making excuses for himself, all in order to tell himself that he doesn't care for these two girls, and that they too don't care for him. He tells himself that this friendship, this time spent together was just temporary, and that at some point in time all of this would cease to exist. He tells himself that he's still completely alone. And Hikki does this because he's scared. His philosophy was built as a shield to protect himself from the malicious intent and pain that was dealt to him while growing up, and to give that up, to change, is something that Hikki is scared to do. He believes himself to be incapable of friendship, incapable of kindness, and most importantly, incapable of love. But in his stubbornness not to change, Hikki ironically adopts the characteristics of the type of person that he despises the most. Someone who is superficial. And as it slowly dawns on him that he really does care for Yui and Yukinon, and that he's been lying to himself, Hikki searches for an answer to the question, what does Hikigaya Hachiman want? But for the first time, Hikki has no real answer. When his friendship is jeopardized with Yukinon and Yui, he has no answer. His arsenal of logic and reason is absolutely useless when treading these unknown waters. You see, Hikki has always had the answer, the only problem being they've very often only been duct tape solutions. He helped Rumi only to find out that she was still stuck in the same predicament of having no friends. He saved Sagami, but because of it, she was unable to truly grow as a person, which comes back to bite him in the light novel. He helped Hayama retain their friend group, only for them to remain static in their unchanging and superficial friendship. And this same superficial friendship is what Hikki, Yukinon, and Yui emulate, because Hikki's notion of friendship is represented by Hayama's friend group. But this isn't what Hikki wants, this isn't what Yui and Yukinon want, and this certainly isn't the answer that Hikki was looking for. And as their friendship reaches a breaking point, Hikki decides to change. He decides to rely on others, to rely on Yui and Yukinon, to trust them, to put down that shield he had put up for so long. And with this decision, he finds his answer. He finds what he had been looking for this entire time. That answer being, he wanted something genuine. This answer has been something Hikki has been wanting for a long time. Only this time, instead of being rejected, he's found people who are willing to accept him for who he is. And though Hikki, Yui, and Yukinon aren't really sure what this something genuine even is, through their struggles, hardships, and difficulties, slowly but surely, they begin to find their answer. Hey, what's up guys? Thanks so much for reaching the end of the video. And I worked really hard on this video, so it would mean a lot to me if you guys liked, subscribed, and left a comment of one thing you really liked, and maybe some things that I could definitely improve on. Shout out to everybody that's been waiting, and that's been encouraging me, and that's been helping me on the journey. And thanks once again. Till next time, guys.